Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening. Depends on from where you guys are tuned into us. But we're back on live on yet another OnConscious podcast. We've got another wonderful guest today. We know what the topic is. We know what we are aiming at to cover. But I've got my really good friend, Kriss McLean, to my left, right. Yeah, over here from Melbourne.
One of those sides. Yes, good evening from autumny Melbourne.
And we've got our guest today, Kriss Venugopal, connected with us from India. So just before I get to Kriss, because Kriss is a wearer of many hats, we always feel that in times of uncertainty, it always helps to have the tools we need to start perceiving and processing your life, in empowering each other in many different ways. It's everybody's birthright to actually enjoy success, abundance, and freedom. And this is why transformation is so important. This is why we started OnConscious podcast. And this is why you guys have been viewing us and being in touch with us all these months. Hi for the new viewers who have just joined us. And today we have with us Kriss Venugopal. I've known Kriss for over a decade now, and each time I meet him, he's got a new hat on, like a new avatar. He's always surprising. And I just heard him, at the green room just a few minutes ago that he's now studying law as well to practice to become a lawyer. So since then, over the past 10 years, we've discussed a lot of stuff that comes to mind matters. But for today, since we're talking about generally about what goes on in our psychology, I'm going to introduce him as a clinical hypnotherapist, a motivational speaker, a consultant psychologist, and published author. Kriss Venugopal, he has done nearly 700 interviews, and that includes talking to people like Jeffrey Archer, Benazir Bhutto, Arundhati Roy. He's currently working on his 8th book. He's written books in various languages. I don't know. I've seen people speak different languages, but this guy's written books in various languages. And through hypnotherapy, he's helped people survive trauma, abuse, insomnia, lack of confidence. And he's also an actor. He's a radio DJ. He's a voice trainer. So that's Kriss. That's Kriss for you. Hi, Kriss. Welcome to the show.
Oh, thank you for a very extended intro. It's like an intro with an outro.
Okay, bye. Thanks. Yeah, just done.
It would have been quicker to say what Kriss hasn't done, I think.
That is true.
Sounds of it.
There was somebody who asked me, like, what do you do? I said, I live. That's all I do.
I think, I mean, it's kind of like a 1-second answer. I just went through about 3 minutes trying to introduce you, which is always a challenge, introducing you. But let's go to, let's start from here. You being a wearer of many hats, somebody who's always striving to learn something new, start something new, do everything that's possible, or actually, you know what, everything is possible. So let's talk about that. Not everyone is like that. So where does that come from?
It actually comes from the main topic, what we are dealing today. It's the mind. Like, you tell yourself that you can do it, and nobody can stop you, because the worst person who can stop you from doing anything is yourself. So what happens if you say that you can't do it, then all the powers in this world, they will not be able to do anything for you. So it has to start from within yourself. So if you look at me, any kind of challenge or anything new which I start learning, I just have that love towards it, and it just pulls me on. And age is no bar. There is no restrictions when it comes to my mind. And I'm open to thoughts, like being learnable or being open to new ideas. That really helps.
I think that's a really key point there, that being number one, being a lifelong learner, but also willing to be a learner, willing to start at square one, especially as you get older. I think people do have that natural fear or that concern. I'm too old to start again, and they're sort of not willing to go back to square one and start. So I mean, you could talk on how is that? How do you do that? How do you help people get into that sort of state of?
One of my, I would say, one of my clients in, northern India, in a different place, they wanted some kind of help because they lack that confidence to do something which they badly wanted to do. So the easiest thing could have been a personal hypno session, or the next would have been probably a talk over the phone, like on cognitive behavioral therapy, or it could be a video session or a recorded session. And I resorted to a recorded session, which actually saw the transformation from a person who could not do it to that person who could do it, because the mind actually takes the suggestion. It's called the hypnotic suggestion if it is hypnosis, or the neuro-linguistic programming, NLP, also works. So all these, the scientific intelligentsia, they would call it the pseudoscience, because there is no particular proof that this is how it works, but it works. So if you can accept the fact that a pseudoscience can be much more stronger than a medicine, there have been millions of people who have quit their habits, millions of people transformed. And if you actually look at a time before 1950, all the dentistry, it was done by hypnodentistry. There is a whole field called hypnobirthing, where delivery is done through hypnosis. So it was so very active, and there came in the pharmaceutical companies who actually wanted their presence and slowly moved out this science, calling it pseudoscience.
So, but we still, currently, do all psychologists actually practice hypnotherapy, or
Not
is it
not everyone, not
Okay.
everyone, not everyone, because psychology or psychiatry, if you actually look at it, it actually brands you like, okay, you're having OCD, you have a compulsive disorder, or you are schizophrenic, or you're having paranoia. They brand you with a particular name, they label you, and that's all it does. And the change happens on different levels. Like they say, if you look at these psychiatric medicines, either they are hallucinogens or mood elevators, there are different chemicals which can only temporarily remove the symptom, whereas your mind can change the whole aspect, and the mind can make the change and bring about the change which can make you a newer person. If you actually look at the age-old system, like I would say hypnosis is one of the oldest forms of therapy. When a mother is putting a child to sleep, you would have heard a very monotonous, continuous, specific rhythmic beat or a sound. They put the child on the shoulder, they tap regularly on a particular speed, and they say, that actually is moving into trance. So probably we are all hypnotized. My mentor, he actually says every time that either you are hypnotized, or you're hypnotizing, or you're in a state of hypnosis. So it starts off when we are a child, and it goes on. It's a very proven technique for a change to be brought about with the mind.
Yeah, you talk about those three states, and it's something we talked about just in the green room coming in, those three states. So when you're either in hypnosis, so you're either in a hypnotic
or you're
state,
hypnotizing someone.
You're being hypnotized, or you're hypnotizing someone else. Could you go into each of those a little bit more, and sort of if I'm does that mean that most of the time I'm being hypnotized?
I'm under somebody's
all
trance?
the time, all the time, all the time. We are in one of these three states all the time. If you're actually looking at, say, you're watching, say, Donald Trump, or you're watching, say, Obama or Narendra Modi, you're watching them. Whatever they say, somewhere your mind is taking in everything. So you're being hypnotized. So your mind actually works according to it. If somebody says, okay, from tomorrow it's lockdown, your mind starts preparing for it. Your mind is very fast. So that is the state of being hypnotized. Or in a state of hypnosis, like while you're sleeping, while you're awake, something is running on the background, like the OS of a computer. It keeps running behind your back. So that is a continuous state of hypnosis, and all these suggestions, whatever, if you actually hit the head of a guy and say, oh, you stupid dunce, or a nerd, or whatever you call him, you do that over a period of time, he starts believing that, and he starts behaving like that. If you call a child a fool again and again and again, he naturally starts becoming the fool. So why we are listening to the such comments? the mind doesn't understand anything. It just takes in the suggestions. So it keeps working that way. And when you are, say, you're telling somebody about something, probably what happened at home or what happened at office, they give you rapt attention, and you're hypnotizing that person, because whatever you say becomes a suggestion. So, Kriss, if I can, from here, what I'm saying is, I just want you to stretch your hands forward like this. Okay. And just clasp your hands together. Okay. And just bring these two fingers up. And keep looking between the fingers as you separate them. Okay. You separate those two fingers and keep looking at those fingers. Now, I want you to focus between the fingers, and as I talk, I can say that your mind will start moving those fingers closer and closer, closer and closer. The more you focus, you can feel a magnetic pull between the fingers, and your fingers will start moving closer and closer, closer and closer, closer and closer. You can feel the pull as if the fingers are being tied with a rubber band, and the top of your fingers, they start moving closer and closer, closer and closer, closer and closer, closer and closer. And as it moves closer, you start feeling the pull increase more and more, more and more. Focus between the fingers, and you can feel the pull increase more and more, more and more, more and more. And you can feel the pull. You can feel as if a string is being tied, and your fingers are getting closer and closer, closer and closer, closer and closer, closer and closer. Yeah. Now, what you see, Reva, you feel that kind of that attraction, or whatever you call that feeling of that energy.
Yeah, but is
what your mind is creating.
I was actually trying to resist it as well. That's the messed up thing. I was like, resist it.
Even if you resist, it starts pulling together. Yeah.
But isn't that my finger going back to the easier state, like as in the normal state?
No. If you want to keep apart, you can keep it apart for minutes, or maybe for half an hour, 15 minutes, you can do that. But when you tell the mind that they are moving, you start feeling the pull between the fingers.
Did you feel that?
Yeah, definitely felt that. I was looking at it like, don't move, don't you move, don't you move, don't you move. So I was, I said I was resisting, and that probably added to it, right, Kriss? Because I was saying, don't do it, don't do it. So it did the thing then.
Yeah. That's the next lesson, what you have to understand about your mind, that it doesn't understand the word no or don't. A mind does not understand any negatives. Like if a person wants to be rich, he should not be saying that I don't want to be poor. The mind actually erases that don't, and it makes you poor.
Oh,
so
right.
any affirmation, any kind of suggestion which you're giving, if you're actually saying the negative, the mind doesn't understand the negative, and it actually moves you towards the negative, which you don't want to happen. So that is why, if you look at maybe Stephen Covey or all of those positive PMA book writers, they always say the affirmation has to be positive. It cannot understand no, don't. If you say that don't move, it'll start moving.
Yeah.
The more you say no to it, it'll start moving. The mind is a very strange thing which cannot understand any negatives. So there starts a problem.
Yeah.
Right.
Is it because I'm trying to control that consciously as well, but you're talking straight into my subconscious, that's the more powerful engine, right?
But that's why I wanted to ask about, like, how do you know you're talking to your subconscious as a hypnotherapist? How do you know you're speaking to somebody's conscious or the subconscious, or is it just by repetition?
No, the funniest thing with your mind is that whatever happens around you, the mind is recording everything. Okay. And whatever takes the form of a command, it becomes such a suggestion. So if somebody is saying that, I saw a ghost out there, don't go there, you naturally will start looking for the ghost, even though you don't want to see it.
That explains every horror movie. Don't go in the house.
Yeah.
I'm just going to go check out the house then.
Yeah.
So that's what happens, because the mind doesn't understand a no or don't. Now, if you take the Bhagavad Gita, like I'm working on the next book, which is based on the Bhagavad Gita, in that it says, there is a very strong statement which says, Uddharet Atmanatmanam Natmanam Avasadhet Atmaiva hi Atmano Bandhur Atmaiva Ripuratmanaha. In Sanskrit, it means that if any person rises in life or he falls in life, the only reason is himself, nobody else. The growth happens because of him, and the fall also happens because of him. And the second line says, your mind or yourself is the best friend you can have and the worst enemy, because your mind clearly knows all your shortcomings, all your limitations, all your fears, everything. You know it better than anyone. So you can be your worst enemy.
And they're all hardwired, I guess. The more
Yes,
you repeat those things, the thicker those connections become, for lack of a
the easiest thing to start off, rather than going for a session or a treatment, the first thing what you can do is look at the mirror and tell yourself that, no, I don't have the problem, or I'm okay. So instead of saying I'm not insomniac, say that I am going to sleep well.
Yeah, okay, that's the difference. Yeah.
Yeah. So what happens with the mind, as it processes it, it takes out all the negatives. So I'm not an insomniac if you're trying to say that. So the only word which goes in is insomniac.
Yeah.
And you will stay awake.
Does that,
if you say that I'm going to sleep well.
Sorry, Kriss, does that happen with a word like, if I say I want to lose weight, is something like lose, like loss, is that a negative to the mind? Or is that I want to lose weight, I want to lose weight rather than I want to be healthy? Is that,
you can say you can actually, the suggestion is faster. If you say I'm thin, that's losing weight. I'm healthy. That's
I'm
possible.
healthy. Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm healthy, I'm rich, I'm successful. Not so much like I'm not struggling with this. No, I am not struggling with this. That doesn't work.
When you say I'm not struggling, the only thing your mind processes is that, okay, go struggle. And it'll create all situations which is ready for a struggle, and you'll be doing that. That is why if you take Rhonda Byrne, who wrote The Secret, she has specified that even if you have a huge debt, say that I'm free of the debt. Live a life which you believe that you have, even if you don't have it. So the mind actually processes your ways to reach that in a much faster fashion. So it depends on what kind of suggestions, what kind of affirmations. If you actually talk to a theta healer, they would actually give you suggestions. So these same suggestions, if you go to a neuro-linguistic programmer, that person would be actually giving you suggestions. In hypnosis, you're giving your mind suggestions. So the mind is everything. So again, I get back to my basics of Bhagavad Gita, where it says how a man loses himself. So there is a verse which says, Dhyayato Vishayan Pumsaha, like if you're attracted to something, if you see something, you get attracted to it, you get attached to it. Now, if you don't get it, then you get angry. From anger, it moves on to a state of illusion where if I had that, I would have done that, that kind of a thought. And from there, it moves into affecting your memory. You keep thinking about that, you lose track of what you have to do. And that's how a man ends up destroying himself. So the initial point itself, where you have the attachment fixed towards something, you tell yourself that, yeah, if I get it, it's okay. Otherwise, it's fine. Then you wouldn't be sad. You would be much more happier. You would live a much more fuller life. You would live a life which is propelled by positive affirmations. So that would be the right thing to do.
Over the past couple of minutes, you have just told us the most difficult things to achieve as human beings. And number one is the fact that to imagine a life that is not in front of me yet. So to imagine something that has already happened. So to tell myself lies, right? To lie to myself, sort of.
Are you saying, is that a wish or a lie? Because that depends on whether you're calling a genie. When you don't have a palace, you're asking the genie for a palace. That's not a lie. It's a wish.
I'm asking for a palace, but I'm living in a palace is a lie. And it sort of contradicts in my brain. I totally understand what you are getting, because we've had a theta healer a while ago in our show as well. And we know this is I was just reading Conversations with God yesterday, and this is proven. This is real. This is how you're supposed to work. But then the fight always happens with your mind, saying that, hang on, Reva, who are you kidding? You're not living in a palace. Hang on, Reva, come on, you're not thin. And how do you fight that voice in your head? How do you do that?
Because the mind does not know the difference between a fact or a fiction. If you tell sitting in a broken down 1980 model car, and as you drive, you feel as if you're driving an SUV, I'm sure that your mind will make you move towards the point where you will buy that SUV. It's been working. And if you take the case of Rhonda Bryan's secret, if you're going to a parking lot and you believe that you have a parking lot there, even if it's the busiest day, you will get the parking, because the person who just walks out will take the car and you will get the parking. That's the positive affirmation. There are only 3 powers in this world which works for any human. One is the power of positive thinking, then the power of spoken words, and the power of submission. These are the 3 powers which works for anyone to change anything. So the power of positive thinking, it actually, you can call it a lie, but yeah, it is a positive thinking. And if you're actually looking at the power of spoken words, if you can believe and say, that belief will actually take you to where you want to go. And the power of submission is the most important power. If you can submit to the thought that your mind can do it, and you believe it, and you completely submit to that system, then it works. So there are people who say that hypnosis doesn't work because they don't submit to the system. When the hypnotist is trying to tell you that to relax your mind, relax your body, they will actually go against and not try to relax. And they want to know what is happening. What is this guy doing? So if you don't submit to the system, then how it will work? Like if you're going to a school, the system says the classes start at 7 a.m. and it goes on till 1 p.m. And if you're saying that, no, I don't want to submit to the system and I'll come at, say, 12:30 and I'll leave by 4, it doesn't work. So every system, it works only for people who are submitted to the system. So that is the same thing with your mind. If you say that I'm having a problem, yeah, the mind actually only focuses on the problem. But if you say, I have a solution, what happens? The mind actually takes you to the solution.
Is
From
this
nowhere,
hypnosis? What you're saying now?
Self-hypnosis it is a way of self-hypnosis, because if you, anytime for getting into a trance, why is it that if you're feeling sad, you listen to a sad song, and slowly you just drift off into that song, and you just drift off into another visual area, right?
Yeah.
If you're feeling happy and you're going to a club and you listen to all that psychedelic beats and all that, why is it that you don't even feel the pain in your body? Why you keep dancing? Because the trance works that way. The trance takes the pain away. So your mind can actually, the mind
can
take you to anywhere. The time travel, the time is the biggest lie we are being faced day in and day out. Like the biggest lie you can tell anyone is, see you tomorrow. Because you don't know whether there is tomorrow. You don't know whether you are there tomorrow.
Well, or whether you will have the eyesight to see the present.
Yeah.
Oh, we're getting so negative. All right, yeah, sorry.
What happens?
These are really primal states, aren't they, Kriss? About hypnotism, these rituals, this ritualized hypnotism, it's as old as human civilization and probably before. So this is stuff that we ancestrally know. Have we just forgotten, or we've put so much science and religion and other things in the way of it that we just can't subscribe to the system anymore? What is it that blocks us from just going, okay, I'm just going to think positive, I'm going to be optimistic, and I'm going to change my life? Because I read somewhere, I think I was a couple of days ago that we think.
Let me add to one more thing. What you said. You know what the biggest poison in this world is? Do you know which is the worst kind of poison you can have in this world?
Negative thoughts.
Yeah, it's just a thought, not even a negative one. Any thought can be a poison. Because if you tell yourself, no, this hypnosis is not going to work for me, and you don't believe that it is going to work for you, then how will it work? Because your mind already believes that it won't work for you. But if you have an affirmation that if I go to that particular place and I drink a glass of water from that well, I'll get total health and I'll be all right. And miraculously, he gets cured because he believes so. That's a power of positive thinking and power of submission working together. So if at this time of my age or my life, if I say that, no, I can't study, then I wouldn't go to a law school and say that, okay, I want to go to the basics. Where I believe that I can study, and yeah, I do. It is you're only as strong as you think you are. That's why if you look at Henry Ford's statement, you think you can, you think you can't, you're right. Either way, you're right. If you think you can, yes, you can. If you think you can't, you can't. It all depends on that thought. And the thought actually is how you manifest it. Whether you call it a lie, whether you call it wishful thinking, whether you call it a desire, you call it my motto, your goal, all the things work. Now, there was a time when I met Tony Buzan during one of those 700 interviews. You said, Tony Buzan is the person who created mind mapping. Now, he asked me a question which actually boggled my mind. He asked, if I say elephants, what do you get in mind? What do you get in mind when I say elephant?
Elephant.
Large. Yeah.
Yeah.
Sure.
Yeah. Why didn't you see ELEPHANT? I said elephant.
Because there's a connection to the symbolism and I guess the meaning, right?
The visual.
No,
yeah.
because your mind doesn't understand any language. It knows only pictures.
Right.
Your mind can understand only pictures. Now that's how a vision board works. You want to buy a car, you have the poster on your wall, you keep looking at it, you will buy it. That's how the vision board works.
Yeah, got my vision board up yesterday, which is I got a printer out and I got it out, and it feels good, to look at something before I go to sleep because it's right next to my bed. Now let's talk about words here for a second, because you just said your mind doesn't understand words; it understands pictures or associations, right? If that's the case, then why are mantras? Why have they been taught for centuries, and why have they been so effective? What's the use of them?
Mantras in the Indian system? Mantras were never written. If you take any mantra, it is said Punya Shravana Kirtana. It is only to be said, listened to, and to be remembered. It's not to be written down because words don't exist. And every mantra is a visualization. Take any mantra, they give you visuals. And that visual image could be of prosperity, it could be of money, it could be of wealth, it could be of health, anything. Because the mantra which it is meant for, it actually gives you an image. And that image is what works for you. It is actually a virtual vision board, which is called a mantra. It's nothing more than a visual in a few words narrated from one person to another to be remembered and to be reiterated again and again and again. So it works that way. Because like if you see the way letters or any language is taught, they are actually putting up an image which looks like an A, and they say, this is what you call a A. They write a B, that's an image, and that image they show this is B. So we associate those sounds to those images. Whereas India never had a written form to transfer the mantras to another generation. They just visualized and transferred the thought.
That's very, very interesting. Yeah.
So the mantras are not to be written. There are people, I've seen people writing books and books, like they write on blank pages the mantra. They keep writing it without even saying it.
Yes.
That doesn't work.
Because my grandmother used to do that. She had,
No.
maybe, if you go to the Indian culture or Hinduism, a lot of people do practice that. They actually write, books and books of mantras, the same thing again and again and again and again. And this is what even some schools get students to do. When you've done something wrong, and then they'll get you to write, I am not a bad boy. I am not a bad boy. I am going to be a good this, and then they make them write pages and pages of this, right? Right, Kriss? I
But
mean,
instead,
yeah.
but instead, if you put them before a mirror and ask them to look into their eyes and say that I'm the best student, I'm the best student, and say it 10 times and do it for about, say, 21 days, you can see the transformation of that
That would
person.
have worked.
Yeah, it would have worked much more faster. Because that visual, when you look at your own image and tell yourself that you are the best, nothing can stop you. You will be the best. Now,
Is it as simple
one
as
of the
that?
Can you call it simple or the most difficult? That doesn't matter, but it works.
Okay.
Because it is simple for a person who believes it. If you tell a very, I won't say illiteracy, a person who is, I won't say stupid also, like a very common person, you tell him that there is a very famous Babaji who lives in that particular cave. Come with me, and he touches you, you're going to transform, you're going to be super duper. And he believes it, and he goes with him. The moment that person touches him, it is his mind which makes him strong, which makes him invincible, and which makes him the most best person, or the Superman, right? So it is the power of your mind which actually works for your favor. It is not anyone else. That is why it is said, Uddharayat Atmanatmanam, Natmanam Avasathet, Atmaivahi Atmanubantu, Atmaivari Paratmana. But Bhagavad Gita verse, it says that it is only you who is changing yourself. Now, a lot of people make fun of one of the recent, the Godman. He says, the me in me talking to me and all that, right? You've heard that.
No.
Actually, which is true.
Okay.
It is true. It is true. It is true. You are actually talking to yourself. Whatever you say, you're giving a suggestion to yourself.
But you
So,
see, these kind of things, it's funny. I can't go out in public and I say that, hey, so you know what? It's the me in me who is talking to me, and this is me, and
No,
talking
no.
to myself.
No, that you tell yourself. That is what you tell yourself. So when you go in public and say that, many people who have not submitted to the system or the power of the mind or the power of spoken words, they would look at you as a crazy person. If you go to China and go there and talk Russian, they won't understand you.
No.
You should be speaking Chinese. Yeah.
McLean, you've got a question.
Yes,
Yeah.
I mean, it sounds like it's placebo effect almost, right? You give someone a sugar pill and say this is going to cure your cancer, and they take the sugar pill, they cure themselves. They've had.
Yeah, from time immemorial, you will find these kind of stuff. If you watch the movie Dumbo, a feather was given to him saying that you will fly, and the elephant flew. That story says your mind, even if you're an elephant, tell yourself if you can do it, then you will start doing it. But it is not as stupid as saying that, okay, I hold a feather and I jump out of the window. No. If you tell yourself you will fly, probably you'll take a ticket and fly to, say, Australia or fly to Dubai.
Yeah.
Then
We
also
shouldn't
you're
take
flying.
it in the literal sense as well.
Yeah.
That's what you're saying,
There
right?
is a way to it. There is a way to it.
Well, the classic 80s movie, The Boy Who Could Fly, begs to differ, but we won't go there.
Yeah.
Fair
So
enough.
the mind works in a very different way.
Very powerful. Mine's very, very powerful.
Yeah. Because if you look at the recent times, you find a lot of children. Like I get many clients who are kids. Now, what happens to these kids? Why are they so aggressive? Why are they so disturbed? Why are they so not able to concentrate? Why did they lose focus? And a lot of questions come up to me. Now, the reason, there was a time when in the olden days, a mother used to put a baby to sleep saying that you're going to be rich and famous, you're going to be good, you're my sweet, you're my darling, you're my this, you're my that, you're a sugar plum, you're a honey bunch, and all that stuff they tell the child. And it's a hypnotic suggestion because the kid will be slowly moving into a trance, a half sleep, and it listens to all these things and it actually starts manifesting all that. Now, if you take the case of recent times, what the mother tells the child is that from the time you were born, I'm finding it difficult to go to office, you're a menace, you're a this, you're a that. All sorts of negatives are being pumped into a child who's going to sleep, and the trance actually makes him become a menace, a problem, a headache, a problem, right? So you are actually feeding the child all these negatives, and you say that the child is negative. Now, is that right?
Yeah.
The child did not do anything. It just accepted the suggestions from the parent saying that, yeah, I'm a problem, I'm a pain, I am a this, I'm stupid. All that stuff has been fed into that child's head by you.
Now, from the child's point of view, the child didn't ask for this. And this is what happens to a lot of us. This is how we gain, this is how our subconscious is formed, because our mind hears these things, believes these things, and lives these things. So how would you then, draw a filter for yourself and say that, hey, I'm not going to absorb this, I'm not going to absorb that?
No, it is more like if you're making a lemonade and you added more sugar or more salt. Now, what you do with that? Either you have to add more water or add.
Why are we talking about juice today? I don't want to think about juice.
Okay, so you don't actually.
On laptop
you cannot.
For the episode to put some clarity around that comment. We had about 20 minutes of Reva cleaning herself up.
I know. I just
went live today.
Yeah. So what happens is you can only correct it. You cannot extract that out of it. You cannot take that sugar out. You have to, instead of having a filter, you add in more positives. You add in more positive affirmations. That's the only thing you can do.
To counteract it, right? Okay.
Yes. So you have to balance. If you look at, when you take the psychology lessons, there is a particular lesson which talks about what happens at an accident site. Now, if somebody says, I saw a black car, even if there was no black car, you would find out of the 10 people there, 8 people would have seen that car. They would have seen the person inside, because your mind starts creating those images. Because your mind does not know the difference between fact or fiction. So whatever you're saying, be very careful. Mind your mind, or else it'll start minding your business. Your mind is so powerful that it can completely destroy you in no time. You don't need a nuclear weapon to destroy a person. You just need his own mind. You tell him that you're done. Now, that's the whole thing about sledging in sports. Now, why does a person who is confident, he looks into the other sports person's eyes and says, you're done, baby, you're done. I'm just going to pull you down like a feather or something. So what happens? The other person, he sees that and his mind starts getting apprehensive. Even if he is the best, he would fail if the mind starts accepting that the other person is going to beat you. So sledging or any kind of suggestions, it can actually destroy in no time.
I've got a question here. One of our viewers have actually posted a question. So let's put that up right now. Ananta Badmanabhan, can I have clarification? What's the distinction between talking to self and introspection? So I think it's a great question.
Introspection is looking at what you've done already. It is the past. It is a lesson what you're taking. The past is a lesson. You introspect and you look into what all you have done. You think of remedies of how to correct it. But when you're talking to self, you're talking about the future. You're not talking about what you did. You're talking about what you're going to do. You're talking about, I want to be rich. I want to be learning. I want to do a degree in law, or I want to ride a bike, or I want to clean my laptop from juice. So all those things are self-talk. But introspection would be, why did I pour the juice on the laptop? Hey.
Oh, Jesus.
I don't think he can help you.
Yeah, that's the difference. That's the difference. That's the difference between introspection and self-talk. A self-talk can be about the future, whereas introspection is about the past.
But is self-talk not also linked to the past? Because our self-talk, we're projecting out, right? We're projecting from the past too. Well, this happened before,
when we do,
that's what I expect to happen in the future.
Yeah, that's what happens when you do a regression therapy in hypnosis. Now, regression therapy, what happens is we actually go to the moment in time, back in time. The mind is taken to that point, and the whole thing is visualized in front of the person's eyes in the mind, and we remove that, saying that this is gone. Now the mind believes that it is gone, and that person is relieved. There has been a case where one of my clients, he fell down from a construction site, and he had a problem in his lower spine, and he was not able to walk for 4 years, because he believed the moment he fell down, when he saw that he was bleeding, he believed that, no, my legs, they are paralyzed and I won't be able to walk. And the doctors said the same. You're paralyzed for life, you will never walk. And all those suggestions he started taking in. Now, what happens when a person takes a suggestion that he will not walk in his life? He will not walk, right? Now, during hypno sessions, we showed him, we recorded the movement of his legs. We showed him that his legs move. We showed him that he can actually have sensation. And to an extent that a person who could not even use a walker, he started walking with crutches now. So that is a kind of an impact. When there is no physical injury, the mind can make a huge difference. The physical injury, there is a limited thing you can do about it. If a person loses his hand, we cannot tell the mind that there is a hand. Now, there is something called the ghost limb effect. People who have lost their limb, they'll feel that the hand is there for a long time, maybe for a week.
Correct. Yeah.
That's the mind's effect. But a physical injury cannot be done.
Having actually touched upon that, I think we've had this a discussion years and years ago, Kriss. I'm not sure whether you remember, but a neuroscientist that you probably do. One of my favorite neuroscientists from India, from South India. His name is V.S. Ramachandran, VSR. And he actually worked on this phantom limb effect, or the ghost effect, right? So somebody who has lost a limb but still feels pain. So how do you actually cure that? If you've got no hand, but then you feel pain in your left hand, how are you going to deal with that? So he actually created a box with a mirror. So you put your right hand inside it, and then it looks like it's your left hand, and you keep telling your brain, hey, my left hand is well, it's moving, there's no pain there. And then the pain just vanishes from the left hand just by using this mirrored box. So V.S. Ramachandran actually invented that device. It's actually a box with a mirror, but it kind of like helped people with phantom limbs. So that was great. It's interesting you brought that up. Yeah.
Yeah. You know why that happens? Because our mind understands only images. It cannot understand anything else but images. That's why visual thinking is more than wishful thinking. Visual thinking is more powerful than the visual thinking.
Yeah,
So if you can believe and see, if you can believe and see for yourself that you have done it, your mind starts believing that you have done it.
This is where a lot of leaders in this area talk about that idea of visualizing your future, but not just visualizing it, imagining that it's already happened. And that you see the sights, you hear the noises, you feel the air on your skin while you're sitting on your deck chair in your mansion. You feel the wind in your hair driving your car. You feel the leather seats. You really put yourself and use all of the five senses visually to put yourself in that experience as if it's happening now.
Yeah.
So I guess the more you can get into that activates more of the brain, and is that sort of what's happening now? You're using more things to hypnotize.
That's what is done in any hypnotic session. The visuals are being fed into a person. The person actually gets a feeling of being there. You can actually feel that maybe a wind or the moisture. You can feel the heat or maybe the shade, the fragrance. Everything works.
Okay, I want to, now we're talking about hypnotherapy. We're talking about putting visuals in a person's head, getting them to experience in immersive experience of 4D or 5D, however you want to say that, of the future. Now that's well and fine. How is it that, sometimes you watch movies or you've heard of things or read things about how people are able to retrieve memories that they don't consciously remember through hypnotherapy? How does that work?
Okay, now your eyes and brain, they are a sort of an unlimited digital camera. Okay, the eyes and the brain. Every day you capture around, say, 1 million+ images. And these images stay in your head. Now, just as a person who has designed a computer, he has a read-only memory and a random access memory, right? So what is stored is only what you want. The rest is discarded, but not deleted. So there are ways to retrieve, if that is having any kind of significance, the mind can retrieve it. Now, why is it that you have tasted a particular, say, a cake or a particular curry very many years back, maybe what your grandmother made? And when I talk about that particular cake or that particular curry, how is it that you feel that fragrance or that taste in your mouth? Why is it that you get that feeling that,
It's a
yeah,
familiar
I know
taste of
that, I
home
remember.
that we say. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. So how does it work? Because it's not been discarded, it's not been deleted. So whatever senses you have, they just record all that stuff happens around you, even things which you have not taken notice of. So the mind actually, the brain is an unlimited source I would say, unlimited storage, and your mind is the unlimited source. So the brain is just a storage device. Now, how you retrieve it, why you retrieve it, that depends on your mind.
Right.
So that's how you think. So even if you're doing like trying to remember somebody, when I say a particular name, how does that image immediately pops up? Whereas a computer takes at least about 5 or 10 minutes if you want to remember a person's face about 10 years back or 20 years back. Or if I say Reva, if I give you the name Rajiv, why does that image pop up immediately? It's so fast. It doesn't even need a nanosecond. Immediately that face flashes. It is that fast. So that storage device is your brain. Whereas what to retrieve, how to retrieve, I did not say what kind of shirt he's wearing or what kind of beard he's having or what kind of glasses he's wearing. Just with that name, you have an image, and what and how, that depends on your retrieving technique.
Okay. Okay. So how can we use this
That's how
to
it
help
works.
us? Time, really flies when we have these sessions, and 47 minutes into our streaming right now. How can we use this to help each other at times like this, when we are living in, challenging times, unprecedented times? People are nervous. People are stressed. How can
Many.
hypnotherapy, come into play?
More than hypnotherapy, I'll come to the hypnotherapy side. More than hypnotherapy, when was the last time you picked up the phone and called up somebody and just asked, "Hi, how are you?" Out of nowhere. And with that care in your heart, can you call up a person and say that, "How are you? I'm really concerned about you. Are you taking care of yourself?" Now that is how you kindle hope in a person's heart. Now one who feels that this person has forgotten me, suddenly he gets a call from that person. That is hope. Now that hope can take him a very, very long way. But we don't do that anymore. We don't just call up a person and say that, "Are you all right?" I just call to find out whether you're okay. We call up, and immediately the person, the mind actually retrieves all sorts of possibilities. Okay, he wants money, he wants car, he wants this. No, I don't want anything. I just want to know you're fine. Now that actually makes him move with hope. Now that is how we instill hope in a person. If you can call up somebody and say that, "I'm really concerned about your health," or "I'm really concerned about how you are," and just talk to him with a little smile on your face, that makes a huge difference. Now, when do we start doing it? It is not on the time of a pandemic. You do it at the earliest time. When I was in Dubai, that's about 4 or 5 years back, I used to call up randomly, just take the phone book, randomly take a number, and when I get the number, I just call up and ask, "Are you all right?" I just call for that. Now, what happens is
Remember this.
that person will start, that person actually starts getting a hope of living, knowing that, no, a person is not forgotten. For at least about 5 or 6 years now, no, it's about 6 years now. For 6 years, I've been sending morning messages. Every day, I write 8 lines and I send it to people. Those people might not even read it. They might just ignore it. But out of the blue, when one morning it pops up, and if they read it, they feel that, yeah, it's nice.
I have seen this. I have experienced this. And since you're talking about calling random people up, I think I've mentioned that to you, McLean, some years ago when we were working together. And Kriss was my colleague. I think there was one morning he said that, hey, you know what? Go call your grandmother. And I said, like, why? It's so random. I don't want to do that. And he said, no, just call her. And incidentally, that was the day she actually went to the hospital and she got diagnosed with cancer. So she's really, really happy to hear my voice. And so were everyone else at home, because it was just the timing was just so weird. But yeah, you never know. You could be anybody. You could actually send a message to someone for years, but yeah, one fine day when they read it, it could make so much of sense to them, so much meaning to their life. Yeah.
So, it is the only question that are you waiting for that day to come to send a message, or have you started sending those messages today itself? I've been sending all these 6 years. Maybe there are people who have read only 2 or 3 of those messages out of this 1,500, 2,000 messages.
Yeah.
But I don't know when that date is going to come, when they're going to read it. So this is what you call the random act of kindness or a random thought. All these things, there is nothing random about it. When the time comes, it will reveal itself. The mind is like that. So it is only a question, are you doing it today? Or are you waiting for that day to come?
I really love that, Kriss. And for me, I think this is something we can do for ourselves as well, right? We can send ourselves those messages. So you're talking about being generous, being loving, being caring about other people. But we have those same negative thoughts for ourselves. So why not send ourselves those messages of love every day? Why not just call ourselves up and say, hey, are you doing okay? How's everything going?
No, that's what I said. Every day, go to the mirror, stand in front of the mirror, look into your eyes and tell yourself like, hey, you're beautiful or you're handsome. Say that you're so confident, you're so bold, you're looking so good. Yeah, and you'll exactly become what you say. You are.
I do that every day already. So it's clearly working.
Do you do that? Do you do that, McLean?
You should.
But
you think this mustache comes out of nowhere? This is.
Oh, you look amazing. You look lovely, McLean. But this is what people do on social media, don't they? They try to put pictures of themselves and try to extract these messages or these loving texts from other people.
Yeah. Why not?
That external validation.
Yeah.
Why not oneself? They don't do it for themselves. Now, the best friend you can have, the best enemy you can have is your own mind. So are you not waiting for somebody else? When you have your close friend, you're ignoring that person. Now, what will that mind say? He'll not come with you, right? If you ignore your own mind and wait for somebody else's affirmation, you're doing a mistake. Is it not that you have to do it now and do it yourself and don't ignore your own mind? Now, why do certain people have certain kind of messages from their mind saying that, yeah, do this now? And we tend to just discount the thought and say that, no, I don't want to listen to it. Probably after a few days, you would start thinking that, I wish I had listened to my mind. When you did not. You actually start
of inspiration.
Yeah. If you look at, say, Van Gogh or a Michelangelo or a Mozart or a Tchaikovsky or anyone, or a Jeffrey Archer or anyone, they listen to their mind. That's where they are, they become what they are, right? They listen.
Yeah, but my mind could tell me the negative stuff as well. So it's up to me to kind of like to filter out all the negative voices in my head.
The mind actually does not give you negative. No, the mind actually does not give you negative. The mind says, Reva, you're going to be rich. Then you say, oh, come on, that's a joke.
Right.
So you say negatives to your mind, not the mind. The mind actually can talk only positive.
Okay.
So it is how you think.
I think I watched the video.
Reply which was negative.
I watched a video yesterday. Yeah, I watched a video. I think it was our old mate Stephen Kotler. He's saying something to the effect of, out of every 10 thoughts, 9 of them, generally 9 are negative and 1's positive in general. So even just adopting an attitude of loving care and optimism, even just being slightly more optimistic in our thinking and having 3 out of 10 positive thoughts is a massive win. So it doesn't take a lot to kind of shift that balance a bit. Because most of the
Okay.
time, most of us have more negative thoughts than positive.
Okay. Now, imagine you have a jug full of, say, water.
Yeah, thank
Right?
God. Okay.
Okay,
Not
not
juice.
juice. I gave up the juice. Okay, you have a jug full of water, and you've just added more water, and you've filled it up, right?
Yeah.
Okay, now whatever you pour out won't be milk. So your mind is a jug. If you have poured water into it, only water will come out. If you have been
Yeah.
feeding negatives to your mind, what's coming out is going to be negative. But at the same time, you pour in a muddy water into a jug and keep it still. That is meditation. If you can keep your mind still, it settles down. At least a little of the positive, clean water will come out. The mud will settle. That is why we need to practice meditation, or maybe NLP or CBT. Talk to someone, give someone hope, keep smiling when you can't smile. When you don't have smiles, if you can smile, those things work. That makes sense.
Yeah, it does. Yes.
It's this. All these conversations we have, it's the simple things, Kriss. It always comes back to smile, feel, you know.
Yeah, there is a very famous story by, about Buddha and his disciples. Now, Buddha, he asked his disciple to go get water from the river. The river was flowing very, like it was gushing and it was muddy. So the disciple came back, again went after some time, still it's muddy, again went and came back. Third time he went, and by evening, when Buddha asked, like, where is the water? He said, it's muddy. So Buddha said only one thing. If you had collected that muddy water and kept it for about, say, half an hour, you would have had clear water. So that is what we don't do. We just keep looking at that water is muddy, so we don't touch it, we don't take it, we don't store it. So whatever negative has happened, let it happen, it has happened, done. But can you feed and just let your mind rest for a while so that you can take out at least that little positive, drinkable, potable water? That is what we should do. Now, that's exactly what a hypnosis or a mother's care, a hug from a friend, a smile, or a letter, or a phone call, or a message, all these things just helps to settle this muddy water a little. You're just doing that, adding that one thing to that muddy water, which makes it a little more clearer. That's all you have to do. So it is not that I'll point a finger at a NLP practitioner and say that, no, that doesn't work, only hypnosis works. No, everything works. Theta healing works, hypnosis works, NLP works, even Ayurveda, homeopathy, Siddha, everything works. It works for people who believe it works for them. So are you ready to believe it? That is the point where things start changing. That is a point where when you believe this can change, the change is actually you, not the medicine. It is your mind. So the moment your mind starts working for you, you don't need anyone else. The mind is the master as well as the servant. It does both the work. The mind can be the worst taskmaster, but at the same time, it can be such a loyal, faithful servant who will take you places. It can be the best friend you can have your hands around the shoulder and walk along. But are you ready to make your mind your friend? Are you ready to listen to it? That makes a difference.
Wow.
Beautiful.
Yeah.
Wow.
Just lost for words there, but that's okay because the mind doesn't understand words, so it's fine.
Yeah.
What a place to wrap up on, I think. Simple, beautiful words, Kriss. And yeah, it is. I think we get so caught up in all the stuff of life that we forget just simple, calm compassion for ourselves.
Yeah.
Is it that easy?
It is. It is. To care for a person, you don't need a huge bank balance. You don't need a Porsche. You don't need a penthouse. To care for a person, you just need a heart. To smile at a person who is not feeling well, you go to a hospital, you don't buy him all the medicines available in the pharmaceutical store or the pharmacy. Just a smile is enough. Just hold his hand and say that you're going to be all right. That's the best medicine you can give. And doesn't cost anything. It's as simple as that. If you can love, you can smile, you can hold a person's hand and say that you care, more than enough. Because your mind works that way. That is a suggestion you tell him that, yeah, you're going to be all right. If you can say that, nothing like it.
Yeah, this is just amazing. Again, how simple these things are, and what really loved about the past hour conversation that we had was your analogies, and you just put everything into a visual perspective. So I'm not going to remember. My mind's not going to remember the entire 1 hour of this conversation, but I'm going to remember the Buddha story. I'm gonna remember the water in the jug. I'm going to remember my juice. I'm going to remember me driving in the car in my old 80s wrecked vehicle, but I still want to get into a Porsche. So I'm going to remember these, and me speaking to myself in the mirror. So I've got these images stored now. So now that's pretty much right. That's the gist of our conversation, wasn't it? For that entire 1 hour.
That's how you mind it.
Yeah,
that's
exactly
what the effects would have been.
That's phenomenal, and thank you so much, guys, for tuning in today. For being with us. It's been an incredible 1 hour. Thank you so much, Kriss, for being with us
Kriss.
today.
It was profound, as Priya has said in the comments. Very, very profound. How simple things can be. And yeah, thanks for joining us. It's been
that's Priya Dilip Kumar. She's a wonderful theta healer based out of Dubai, and she's an amazing healer and a beautiful soul. Yeah,
amazing. Thank you, Priya. Yeah, thank you so much for joining us, Priya. It's great having you as well. So yeah, we love the fact that we're connecting people from across the world as well. So great, and we'll see you guys once again on yet another OnConscious episode. Please do follow us across social sites. Just look for Get OnConscious, and you'll find us there. And we also have our own podcast. Your Stitcher, your Apple Podcasts, your Google Podcasts, we're everywhere as well. And if you want information about Kriss, I think Kriss is pretty much very, very well known. But if you want to look at his updates, his blog posts, as well as the books that he's working on at the moment, you can always visit www.krisstheiyer.com. Kriss, THEIYER.com. Yeah. Thank you. And this is me, Reva, signing out.
Yes. Thank you, Kriss. And this is Kriss. Signing off. Thank you. And we'll see everyone on the next episode. Thanks for tuning in.